Hello, everyone. Good morning or good evening, depending on your location. I'm connecting right now with my wonderful speakers, and welcome to the full crew show. Today we will talk about robotics. I have three distinguished guests with me. I have Kimberly, I have Sean, and I have Alexander. We are talking about robotics and about three great articles that my guests chosen for today's show. And before we start, I would like to ask Sean, Kimberly, and Alexander to say a few words about themselves and how they landed in this exciting landscape. Sean?
Thanks, Joanna. Howdy, everyone. I am Executive Director of the Energy, Drone, and Robotics Coalition, and we are in charge of about 20,000 members worldwide in all forms of energy, utilities, oil and gas, mining, maritime, the entire value chain, and help work on best practices, use cases, and the latest technologies that are available for their robotics, drone, and data programs.
Great, thank you. Kimberly?
Yes, thank you. And I'm very happy to be here. So my name is Kimberly Maguire. I'm currently located in Sweden, and I'm a robotics engineer and a fresh new founder of my new company, Maguire Robotics AB. I'm actually originally from the Netherlands. I've actually done my background in aerial robotics, done my PhD in it, and I'm very active also in the open source robotics community and like the robotics operating system community as well.
Amazing. And now Alexander, who is located in Japan.
Yeah, hi. So my name is Alex. I'm the CEO of Xela Robotics. We started the company in 2018. So we make tactile sensing technology. We don't make robot hands, we don't make grippers, but we make them better by integrating our sensors. And me personally, I've been working on tactile sensors for nearly 20 years now.
Wow, the background. Thank you so much. I'm super happy to be here with you and to explore robotics in details and learn some insights about this emerging industry. And now I would like to thank our sponsors. Without them, this show would not be possible. So thank you so much to Teal, to Carasoft, to Ecodyne, and also to Xela. And also, I would like to thank to myself because I'm running a law firm in Poland, in Europe. I'm an expert in air law, and my big focus is new technologies for airports, airlines, also aircraft producers, and I'm also a drone expert. So today I have a pleasure to host this discussion, and I would like to thank Dan Zoldai, who invited me to moderate the first full crew of this year. So now we will move to Sean and to his great article. This article is devoted to reducing the work injuries by using robots and robotics. I would like to find out why did you pick this article? How you try to help the energy sector by using robotics.
Sure. Thanks, Joanna. So the number one reason is because I would say over the 10 years for the Energy, Drone, and Robotics Coalition, the number one reason for use cases, whether it's proof of concept or scaling, is safety. That's the number one thing that folks are trying to do in our industry, are to make their operations, which can be hazardous, safer, whether that's nuclear or mining or oil and gas, you name it, working at height. So that's why this article really spoke to me, because it's showing some very tangible gains that we've had in the past, some actual use cases, and then also speaks to where we may be heading as physical AI helps enable robotics to do even more.
And which companies from US, from the energy sector, are currently using robotics? Can you name them, or can you indicate them, or is it confidential?
No, absolutely, I can name them. Sure. So it's often in their corporate reports and sustainability reports, and they speak often at our events and in our news. So happy to do so. So think about all the oil and gas majors So Shell, Chevron, BP, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips. I don't want to leave anyone out, but I'm just saying in general, most of the major oil and gas companies are deploying robotics, whether it's aerial, ground, or subsurface, in their operations for surveying, mapping, and inspection. And then you also are seeing it in the downstream industries like refining, petrochemical. So you see companies like Valero, Marathon Petroleum. You see companies like Total. You certainly see companies also throughout the utility industry, whether it's Vattenfall over there in Europe, or you see Duke Energy, or Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E, or Exelon, Florida Power and Light, Southern, all deploying robots. So we cover right now within our 20,000 members, we have almost 300 energy and utility companies who are actively deploying robots and drones in order to make their operations safer.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it shows that robots can be and also drones can be so useful for monitoring or even doing some activities on behalf of humans, and it can be so facilitating for those businesses, because sometimes it's very dangerous to work on the difficult energy infrastructure, and critical infrastructures are very challenging. So I think drones and robotics are perfect solutions. We also see it in Europe. For instance, France, Germany, and Poland are three countries where I see a lot of robotics actually in the energy business, as well as drones. For instance, in Poland, Veolia is using drones, also a company named Orlen, also Total, you mentioned Total. Well, Total in France is also using drones, and a company called Engie. Sometimes people know it from the past, Guerre, Suez. They are also devoting a lot of energy to implement drones to monitor their infrastructure. And I find it very modern. And also you mentioned that robotics help to show that the company is going with the eco trends. So the company is sustainable. So in Europe, for us, it's super important that we are aligned with ESG, and we have ESG strategy. So sometimes companies want to show that they are using drones or robotics to tell their partners that, hey guys, we have this in our ESG strategy, which is super helpful and modern. I would like to find out whether you have a lot of regulatory issues to put on the table together with your members, because you are a director of a very powerful association, and I assume that this association must be very very busy supporting the right regulatory framework for this business. What are the hot topics around it?
Sure. So as we come into 2026, Joanna, we're looking at the same as probably other sectors, but obviously things that will allow us to extend our operations safely and in order to enable us to build. So around that, obviously in the US, our North American folks are looking at FAA Part 108, right? So extending the BV loss operations, that they've already done amazing work and a lot of proof of concept, and now sometimes flying daily with the waiver system that has been in place up till now. So that is obviously one that's certainly top of mind. But then secondarily to that, as they're starting to continue to scale their operations and work with a variety of different service companies as well, they want to look at what is their supply chain. So they're looking at the FCC as far as what's happening there for regulatory, or the NDAA, and how that may impact what they're replacing or repairing, or what they potentially are looking to swap out to in the future. So they're certainly continuing to look at their supply chain as well. And so the regulatory around that. Last but not least, when you look at robotics being adjacent or collaborative with humans in hazardous space, they're consistently looking at some of the regulatory that's coming out of different bodies there, such as IEEE, such as the ISO, and others like with individual countries as far as their occupational safety and health organizations to ensure that we're putting robotics in a safe way out in the field.
Okay. I noticed also in this article that this article talks about construction and the presence of robots in the construction sector. I see it also in Europe. However, I think European companies, when they are building, for instance, airports, they are very modest in terms of using robotics. They are maybe not as advanced as US colleagues from the construction sector. Do you have your favorite company who uses in the construction robots, or are you aware of some nice buildings that were built with the use of robotics?
We're definitely seeing some of the large industrial and commercial, EPCs and AEC companies are adopting for two main reasons. One is workforce. They do not have the workforce numbers that they need to sustain with the projects that they have moving forward. And just like in other industries, they could see some operational safety and cost efficiencies. So we see companies like Skanska, Gilbane, Turner Industries. Let's see, within oil and gas, we see Bechtel, Burns McDonnell. We see a lot of companies who within oil and gas and utilities, Schlumberger, Halliburton, Baker Hughes, all large service EPCs, Wood Group or Wood. You see a lot of those folks who are adopting robotics. And if I could pick a data point on that, I think in the article it talked about how McKinsey Global did a highlight on a study that said the combination of AI adoption with robotics in hazardous industries, particularly looking at construction, could prevent up to 1 million workplace injuries annually worldwide by 2030. So, I mean, these are big numbers.
That's amazing. Yeah.
That they could get out of the advantages of AI and robotics together in their operations.
Yeah, like systems needs to be equipped with computer vision, thermal sensors, and also machine learning sensors. I remember that the article mentioned those, and it's important that we think about that as we think about robotics revolution, because it's a revolution and it will help us to reduce injuries, and also where people, human beings, cannot achieve something, then robots can do it in our place. I was also thinking that in Poland we have great opportunities when it comes to the construction sector, because in the future we plan to build a huge airport next to Warsaw. It will be like a huge hub for international long-haul flights. And our current airport, Polish airports, they just issued a great report about how Poland is using new technologies for airports. I happened to read it on my last flight. That's why I have it on my table. And I'm just sharing this with you. So in our construction sector, we have more drone use cases, because drones are actually monitoring the construction site, and they already helped to build one of our airports in Radom. However, I strongly support the idea of robotics use cases, and I hope that the new big huge airport next to Warsaw will be built with the use of robotics. So maybe now thank you, Sean, for your great insights. Of course, you will be asked to comment another article, but now I would like to turn to Alexander and ask him how do you think your company could contribute to reduce the human accidents?
Yeah, so we help to automate tasks that previously could be difficult to automate. So by giving a sense of touch to the robots. So for example, when the robot grasps an item and it's not really sure about the orientation, or when it needs to insert a cable or even tighten a bolt, those kind of abilities are often still lacking in robots, and so those are tasks that are still a little bit difficult for robots, and that we are helping to automate now.
Okay, thank you. And Kimberly, how would you like to comment the first article that was commented by Sean? Do you have some insights to share with our audience?
Yeah, I had exactly well, I just had a thought in my mind because there was like a few years ago that I saw an article about using exoskeletons for baggage handlers at airports. And although it's like not particularly such an hazardous environment, but it is like quite a hazardous task that a lot of these baggage handlers can actually get pretty injured. And by means of these exoskeletons that is also a robot, but it's really integrated with the human itself, can actually reduce those hazards by itself. And I think those type of exoskeletons are also used, or exo-robots are also used in the medical field as well, if they have to pick up patients from bed. So that's kind of like also another twist that at least came to my mind, especially when you were mentioning airports.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And I see a lot of use cases in ground handling, because in ground handling, we have so many difficult tasks when it comes to ground operations before the aircraft goes by the taxiway to the runway, that I think robotics can be very revolutionary in this field. And also ground handling companies are searching for innovation. So I think this can be a way to go for the robotic companies. So maybe some business opportunities for Alexander to pick up as well. Okay, so now we will move to the second article that is also very interesting and very feminine in a way, because it talks about the conference, the huge conference that took place in Las Vegas this year, and this conference showed many types of robotics. Actually, I learned through this article that we could actually talk with robotics. We could see them dancing. We could also hug them. So it was a very interesting conference where we could see with our own eyes and feel with our own hands how it is to deal with the robot. I would like to find out from Kimberly which type of use case did you find for yourself in this article, and also at the show in Las Vegas?
Yes, of course. So the Consumer Electronics Show, CES, is that the abbreviation for it? Like, that's a huge show for consumer products for technology. So not necessarily robots, it's consumer products. And that this year, it's robots took such a main stage that also kind of means like, oh, that's actually quite amazing, because that means is that it is something that is really brewing, and really people are really trying to innovate. And you have the company X1 that used to be a Norwegian company, but they are now currently located in Palo Alto, that are now actually releasing a robot bottler to be used in the public. So I'm not a humanoid roboticist myself. I know that it's a very hard robot to be it, but that's at least like something that I thought was very interesting to actually discuss, of not only using robotics within the industry verse, let's say, but also getting them actually in homes, like the vacuum robots have, right? So the interesting thing is about this article, and I also watched a video by Tweakers, which is a tech podcast from the Netherlands, that it is still a little bit unclear of how these humanoid robots or these big robots can actually be used for, especially within the household environments. So they showed humanoid robots that were able to do karate, that were able to do the laundry, but done very, very slowly, and things like all kinds of different tasks, and they could hug with them. But people got a little bit often confused of, so usually they see technology and it's like, yeah, that's a screen that I can use, or that's those tech classes I can use. And then with robotics, it's still like, not necessarily sure how we can use it yet. But perhaps that is a natural stage. It's quite on high on the hype cycle right now, and I think it's now something for like the public to kind of like be open. Like, hey, actually, I find this very useful, or I can actually see a value in this, but it's not there yet. So that's why I thought this article was also interesting to discuss here at the podcast.
Yeah, for me, it was super interesting to read because I didn't attend the conference, but when I read about all the innovation that it offers and all the possibilities that new inventions offer to the human beings, especially women, it's amazing. For instance, I am a mother of two. So in this article, I have seen that there are robots who actually go to your living room and pick up the toys from the carpet. Who has 2-year-old kid knows how it is difficult and how overwhelming it can be to go after your kid and pick all the toys he throws to the carpet. And having a robot like that, it can be a great support. Also, I have seen that there was this Korean company, LG, who introduced the robot who was actually taking the laundry from your washing machine and folding it. So this is also super cool. And it was mentioned in this article that there was a robot who was climbing the stairs and actually washing the stairs with water. So for me, that's a must-have for this year. I will search for it and I will try to buy it. I guess that what I missed in this article, I liked it a lot, but what Sean mentioned in his first article, what we have seen in the first article, was that robotics need to have AI implementations. And this is when they are useful. So the second article didn't really tell us all the insights about mixing AI with robotics, and this is what I like, what I would like to see here. For instance, in 2017, I went to this huge event in Paris. It was called Wieczorek, and the very important speaker was from US. It was Ginny Rometty. She's one of my role models. She's a former CEO of IBM, and she wrote few books about new technology and did a lot to promote artificial intelligence, and also explained to people that it will not really steal jobs from people. It will create new places for people to work. And I missed a little bit this kind of comments in this article, and I missed also the beauty sector, because beauty sectors is another thing where robots can be super useful. For instance, to do the massage, maybe nail polish, who knows? There are so many use cases. I am just indicating some silly ones, but I think robotics can be used also in the beauty sector, which is huge. I have seen some robotic use cases at the L'Oréal display at the same conference Wieczorek in Paris, and I think L'Oréal was the first company who tried to show that new technologies are also very important in the beauty sector. I don't know if you agree with me, Kimberly.
Yeah, actually, there was I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube that actually were not real about, like, for instance, like an hairdresser robot, for instance, and that you would have like a cap go over somebody's head and then suddenly it would go up and their hair changed. But that is unfortunately AI generated. And also one of those things is that also something I've read from this article and from the other YouTube video is that a lot of these applications were in a demo area. So it was not really possible for people to that much interact that much with the robot itself. Like, there's some you could hug, some you could definitely not hug. So for these, like, to be used in the beauty industry, they have to be safe, extremely safe. And
Exactly.
yeah, but massage robots already exist. Those are massagers. So at least that's it. but I would wait a little bit longer before I will let a robot cut my hair. That's for sure. But it's yeah, I guess like also kind of like the human interaction is a very important part, not only for the safety part, but also that people have a perceived safety of a robot as well, that they would like to hug it, like the Olaf robot from Disney that they now have running around in the theme parks. I would hug that. Some of these robots in CS, I'm not sure if I would hug them.
Alexander, I wanted to ask you now whether Japanese companies participated in this conference, because I have seen some Korean big names, like LG I have mentioned with their Cloyd robot, Cloyd concept of robot. Did you see any Japanese big logos?
I didn't have time too much to walk around myself. I was mainly at our booth. There was definitely a lot of Asian visitors. Also at our booth, a lot of Japanese people came. So at least visitors, there were a lot of Japanese. I'm not sure about big names Japanese. Sorry.
Okay, and I wanted to ask you about social acceptance of robots in the kitchen and also robots in your everyday life. Because, for instance, when I was a strategic advisor to Drone Alliance Europe, usually when we were meeting, we were talking about public acceptance. Because, of course, we can create robotics, we can create drones, but what counts is how companies will use it, how business will use it, how people will find it useful. So do you think that where you are located right now and where you are doing your business in Japan, people are ready to embrace the robotics technology in their everyday life?
I think people are ready to give it a shot, but as mentioned before, there are a lot of factors, right? So safety, of course, is one. Then appearance is another one, and then also utility, right? I mean, a lot of robots that are out there now, they're still not very useful, and like even if they do your laundry, they would be maybe too slow to be actually useful. But so as robotics progresses and actually becomes more useful, people will be very happy to use it. I think none of us wants to fold our own laundry, right? So once it's ready, we will buy it.
And do you think that this technology sometimes can be too difficult for an ordinary person? Because I consider myself as someone who is quite familiar with new technologies. So I don't have problems using the new things that are dropped on the market. However, when I bought myself a robot to clean floor, it was a nightmare because it took me so much time to actually put it on my floor and to make it working that I gave up in 1.5 hours. Then my sister came and she helped me, but it's still super complicated to make it work. So I think this part, making the robotics simple, it's also very difficult. And it can be like a barrier before it will be accepted by the market.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we have to make robots even easier to use. I mean, one of the applications that I often talk about is in taking care of older adults, so elderly care, nursing homes, and then the robots have to be super easy, right? Because not everybody is always super tech savvy. And so I totally agree with you. The robots still have to become much easier to use for a lot of applications in our households.
And I would like to ask, thank you, Alexander. I would like to ask Sean, is your coalition, is your association trying to educate and to train the big companies about new technologies? Do you try to facilitate the discussion with maybe the smaller companies that have good ideas to actually try to encourage big players from many sectors to use innovation like robotics and drones?
Absolutely. So what we try to do is make sure that it's a TRL or technology readiness level that could actually be deployed, because obviously this is not just hazardous, but it's critical infrastructure. So there has to be a certain point that the technology, the robotics, or the drone has gotten to. But we tried to find new solutions that are out there and bring those forth in innovative whether it's at one of our events or in the news, to make sure that they get highlighted. So if a company wants to adopt them for proof of concept or field trials, they have the ability to do so. And that's where things like CES, which is focused on the consumer, can generate technologies that eventually will find their way into our industrial settings.
Thank you, Sean. And would you use robotics in your household?
Absolutely. I'm a pioneer. So just like you're right, we all have that friend who was the first to use the iPhone or the BlackBerry back in the day, or is the first to download a Chat GPT app, and start using it on a regular basis. So I would certainly have no qualms about utilizing robotics at my house.
Okay, and Alexander, because you are more working on the industrial applications of robotics, would you try also to prepare products for homes and for ordinary people? Do you think it's something that is coming, or whether you see that the big business is the first market for your company?
So I mean, we focus first on industry because it's still a somewhat more confined environment, which makes it a little bit easier for robots. But I don't think in the very not too far future, robots will also enter houses. I mean, you already have a lot of robots, right? And then maybe they pick up things, and like you mentioned with your 2-year-old, to help you clean up a little bit. So it will come gradually more and more, and it's a very exciting time to be in. And yes.
Okay, so thank you so much for your answers. I'm also curious whether my last question connected to this second article before we move to the third one. I wanted to ask whether you see any regulatory rapid needs that we need to work on. For instance, in drones, we have BVLOS regulations, we have many things to follow, and we have SORA, we have many things to actually monitor on a regular basis, and lawyers who are hired by drone operators or drone companies, they are usual visitors to civil aviation authorities. But in the robotics, where is the huge debate about law? Where do you feel that there is a gap, or we need a better law to accelerate this business and to make it quicker, to make it simpler? Anyone want to pick on this one?
At least with these particular robots in the article, there was one thing that at least that I also saw, or at least I think I've saw it somewhere else, is that they actually use some AI already in the background, but they use a lot of cloud access. What happens when the Wi-Fi goes off? What needs to be done with the robot? What does the robot need to do? But because of course it's missing quite a lot of the brain. So I guess like there needs to be a lot of safety areas, at least of like for instance, for drones, you can say, hey, if you have GPS loss, do this, just slowly land, slowly do this, slowly do that. Same thing has to be done with household robots, especially if they're as big as these humanoid robots. If they lose connection with the Wi-Fi, or they're just not sure where they are, they cannot turn around like a Roomba and just like repositioning, because if they fall over and maybe fall over a kid, or fall over and take like one of the lamps out, and it's definitely one of those things is that there needs to be really thought about safety, especially if they start to actually put these on actual homes.
Okay, thank you. So before we move to Alexander's choice of an article, I wanted to remind everyone in the audience that we are watching this show thanks to our 3 sponsors, Teal, Carasoft, Ecodyne, also Alexander's company Xela, and my company Joanna Wieczorek Airloft, located in Europe in Warsaw. So we are moving right now, Alexander, center to the article that you have picked. It's super interesting about pioneering robotics and some controversial ideas about robotics. The title is He's the Godfather of Modern Robotics. He says the field has lost its way. And I would like you to kick off this topic and introduce this article to our audience. What are your thoughts, and why the selection?
Yeah, so Rodney Brooks is one of my personal heroes. I mean, I've been studying him when I was a student already, and I wanted to add a little bit of spice also. I mean, it's, as you said, it's a controversial topic. So, like, for example, are humanoids necessary everywhere? Or are simpler robots like industrial robots or just grippers that can just open and close good enough? And so he's touching on several topics that I think are very interesting. What kind of robots do we really need at the moment, and what is overhyped, and where should we really be going? And
Okay.
firstly, I think okay, please go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, and personally, I think of course humanoid hands, for example, are very exciting. And for a lot of tasks, multi-fingered hands, humanoid hands are very useful. But for other tasks, simple grippers that can just open and close are good enough. And especially in industry, when I speak with our customers, they are kind of hesitant to use humanoid hands often because simple grippers, they're cheaper, more reliable, and good enough, right? And that's what they go for. And so that's one example.
Mhm. And I think also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I read this article, and as I remember it, Mr. Brooks said that we don't need human level performance to create value. I really liked this sentence, and what do you think about it?
Yeah, I totally agree, right? So my example was with the humanoid hand, right? For a lot of tasks, you don't need a 5-fingered hand. You just need a gripper that can open and close.
Mhm.
For a lot of tasks, I'm not personally working on walking robots, but that's also mentioned in the article. And very often, like a mobile base would be maybe good enough, right? A rolling robot on wheels. But for other applications, legged robots are very useful. And so I think that's an open discussion. But for example, I see that a lot of money gets invested into walking robot, but less money gets invested into dexterity and hands. And in the end, I think we as humans, we perform most of our tasks with our hands. So I think that's an interesting topic. It gets relatively less funding than, for example, walking robots. And so maybe that's an opportunity in the future.
Yeah, that's for me, it was super interesting to find out many particularities about perception of this expert on robots, and I really liked his skepticism. He also said that sometimes robots, they don't know how to behave near human beings, and this makes the use case dangerous. So reading this article made me think that there are so many similarities between robotics and drones, because the same thing with drones. Many people are traumatized when they see a drone flying. For instance, in Poland, we loved drones before the war in Ukraine. Right now, when we talk about drones, some people they are just afraid because they associate it with the war. And this is not good, because there are many positive use cases of drones. So I think the mission of people like us is to educate what can we do positive in business with inventions like robotics and drones, so people are not afraid of them. For instance, I as a person, I have many companies that fly drones. They are my clients. I see drones on a regular basis. So when I see a drone, I'm happy because it means that I am doing a business. I am helping a company to develop another use case. So it makes me feel happy and also fulfilled because I am doing my job as an advisor. But many people are terrified. And the same thing with robotics. I know that when I went to Vivatech and there were already some humanoids presented during that conference, some people were criticizing this because they were treating it as our competitors. I don't agree. I think we need to be open. We need to have our heads ready for the innovation. And I would like to ask you, Alexander, what you are doing personally and what is your company doing to educate your future clients?
Yeah, so we try to show how robots can be used for various tasks. So even industrial users are not always aware how robots can benefit their businesses. And there you would be surprised in 2026 how many tasks are still done manually, like cable insertion, inserting memory into a motherboard. So these tasks that you would think are super simple still often have to be done by humans. In a warehouse, a lot of the pick and place tasks are still done manually. They're very labor intensive. They're very straining for humans. And so if we can help automate those things, I think it would help a lot of people. And then I personally picked this article also because it was also touching on tactile sensors. So that's what we are doing. And so Rodney Brooks also mentioned it. There, in general, there's a lot of focus on vision. And of course, vision is very important for robots to act in the real world, to locate objects. But then when you want to actually grasp, hold, and manipulate objects, vision is often not enough. You cannot see inside of your paper once you closed it, for example. And so that a sense of touch can help you to automate those kind of things because it gives you the most direct feedback about the contact with the object. And I think it's very interesting.
Do you plan to expand your applications, the robots that you are creating? Do you plan to expand it to other fields? Because you have like 2 or 3 applications of your robotics. Do you think that in the future you will have more? What is the plan?
Yes, definitely. So one interesting field is, for example, also agriculture. Every fruit is different. The lighting conditions change all the time. That makes it difficult for vision systems. And then when you pick the fruit, you don't want to damage it. And then, for example, tactile sensors can also help you to sort fruit according to weight and ripeness. And a totally other use case that we talked a little bit about before is household robots. When you want to put dishes into a dishwasher, for example, you don't want to destroy dishes. You don't want to bump into the dishes around. And so the sense of touch is very useful to help you to act reliably and also safe, right? If you share workspace with humans.
And do you think do you agree with Mr. Brooks that in the future is industrial? So we will have a lot of robots on wheels with multiple arms. So they are not going to be like us. They will not have our look, human look, but they will have wheels and they will have many arms. As an owner of a company that is actually in this business since 20 years, do you think that this is our future, or do you think there is a place for diversity?
I think there's a place for diversity. The human factor, the human form factor is very interesting, but it's not always the best form factor for every task, right? Sometimes 6 fingers is better than 5, and sometimes 4 arms is better than 2. I mean, a colleague of mine, for example, he's also making like 3rd arms for humans because we all know sometimes our 2 hands is not enough. So we can even
I
go
agree.
beyond like what the human body can afford.
and are you a fan of using robotics in medicine? So, for instance, a robot is replacing a surgeon and is making a surgery, human surgery, because I know this use case is already in many medicine practices, and many surgeries are done by robots. Do you think this is the way to go? Are you exploring this field, and is your company interested in this field?
We are currently not working in the medical field, but some of our customers do it. For example, they use it for palpation, so to find tumors, like a human would do, right? And like a human doctor would do. And another field is, for example, surgery. I mean, humans ever so slightly shake, right? And then that could be helped with the robot. And also here, tactile sensors could be useful. And so that's again one of our customers is working on, because at the moment a surgeon doesn't get force feedback, tactile feedback, haptic feedback, and so they don't really feel. And that's a limitation of current surgical robots. And if the surgeon could actually also feel the force feedback, that would increase his capabilities.
Yeah, and this is what Mr. Brooks also mentioned, that increasing the capability is like the most important thing when developing this business. And we need to also try to get rid of the fear of humans who are not willing to be around the robots. So I assume that, for instance, when I am a patient and they are preparing me for heart surgery, I would be terrified to see a robot instead of a doctor. But this mindset needs to change, because as robots will be used, I think we can count on better standardization, and standards make things simpler and safer. So I think using robotics in medicine can actually improve standards. As you said, some doctors, they have shaky hands, or when they do few surgeries a day, I imagine that they can get tired. And robots, do they get tired or not, Alexander?
They don't get tired. They work 24/7. Every now and then they need maintenance, but that's one of the benefits of robots, right? They don't have a bad day. They don't have personal problems. And
Maybe that's a good news.
yes. And of course, they're always like Sean mentioned before, they're early adopters that are more happy to adopt technology early. But then I think like the proof is in the pudding, right? Like when people will see that robots perform better, have a higher success rate, and so on, then I think people will be actually happy to be operated by a robot. And then maybe at one point the point comes when people don't want to be operated anymore by a human.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also for the blood test, because I remember when I was pregnant and I had to have many blood tests, one blood test per month. I was always trying to have this test done by one nurse, because after her test, my hand was not in a bad condition. And another nurse, when she was taking the blood test from my hand, she was not so talented for that. So I had like a pain in my arm for 5 days. So I guess that even for medical tests, robots can be super helpful, and they can actually make medicine more painful for human beings. But let's see this in the future. And I would like to ask Sean and Kimberly what do they think about article that Alexander picked. For me, it was very philosophical in a way, but also very concrete. Who wants to go first with a comment?
Kimberly?
Yeah, I guess I would like to comment on the reason why they want to use humanoid bodies and similar bodies as us. At least within robotics engineering, you have in the AI sphere also something called human in the loop learning or reinforcement learning, that they kind of use footage of humans doing certain tasks, and that they use that footage to make the robot learn to do that certain task. And we have 5 fingers and we have a full body, but therefore it's a little bit difficult to translate that back to something that the robot is. But I have seen a company, I think also it's a US-based company called Sunday Robotics. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they had a very nice approach, is that they gave their human trainers, let's say, who generate the footage, grippers like the robots. So they actually made themselves pick up the glasses as the robot should, with the same constraints. So it actually generated all the learning data based on that. And that was a very interesting way of how to do things. So actually constraining the human to do the certain task so that the robot can actually learn from it. That's also a way approach as well. So, but just kind of like to give an insight of why people or these companies still want to use very lifelike or very human-like robots. But there are very creative solutions of also going around that as well. Also with the use of AI.
Yeah, I also read in this article that Alexander picked for us that Tesla, Figure AI, and also 1X Technologies, they promote the human-capable robots, and they prefer to have robots like us in the future than the robots with the wheels and a few arms. So there are trends and tendencies, and every company has its own ideas. But I think it will be the market who will decide for us what do we need. The market, the companies, and the people who are actually not afraid of robotics in business or at their homes, close to their families. And Sean, would you like to comment the third article?
Sure, absolutely. It is a great article. Thank you, Alexander, for presenting that. I thought a couple things was along the lines of agreed what you're saying, Joanna. All the stakeholders are, key for adoption. You have to have everybody involved. But I also felt back to what Kimberly was saying on the human form. For those of us in the industrial settings, the assets that are built for power plants, oil and gas, offshore platforms, these are many decades that they expect these assets to be utilized, and they're built for humans. So if you look at the facilities, the humanoid could lend itself to being beneficial for that to take place in the nearer term, because you could deploy them on the facilities that we have today. Now, that being said, they often will look for what will solve the problem. So if it's something like turning a pressure relief valve, as I said, sometimes just a gripper of some sort is going to be better, or they're not going to need a full humanoid. And then I'm also interested to see, as facilities of the future, or even currently, you think of dark factories, in China, where you have facilities now being built for robotics, which may not require the full humanoid or even a humanoid at all. It might be on wheels. So it's going to be very interesting to see what it is, but it was refreshing to hear from an industry luminary, their opinion on the fact that humanoids may have a little bit longer, runway to get out of the hype cycle.
Very, very interesting comments. Thank you for that. For instance, after you commented, I visualized to myself, for instance, the infrastructure of offshore wind farm, where it is usually very cold, windy, and humans, they hate to go there. So when we will send a good-looking humanoid to monitor it or to do something offshore, it will be much better, because we will save the human effort, and perhaps it will be safer, quicker, more efficient, cheaper. So I guess that the coalition you are representing is very happy that the robotics are developing, and we have many innovation right now, and we can count on more innovation, as Alexander said. And I believe the sector will take off soon, and we will have many robotics in the business landscape. In Poland, I think people are still they are not very educated in terms of robotics. So I'm very happy to host this show today, because I hope that some companies that are my clients, they're watching, and maybe they will be encouraged to think about implementing robotics in their business. I always say we need to start somewhere. So talking about this topic is important, and encouraging companies to see what market can bring, what inventions are already to be implemented in business. I'm very happy that globally we have many conferences where we can see robotics. For instance, even at this conference, Exponential, where you went also, Sean, in Houston, I have seen few robotics. Maybe not many companies, but I have seen a few logos and also a few robotics as exponents. So it was a drone conference about autonomy, and maybe drones were more significant during that conference. But I think this topic of robotics was also well presented, and people who visited this conference know that in US there's a great interest in this field.
Absolutely. We've seen attendance at our Energy Drone Robotics Summit each June grow over the last 10 years. And I think robotics that are non-aerial is growing very rapidly.
Yeah, and I need to say that I went through your LinkedIn posts, so I learned a lot about activities that you are undertaking. And wow, big congratulations for what you are doing for the industry. And I think that we need to keep this good work up. We need to move it forward. And I will be reading your LinkedIn posts from now on, because I was really happy to learn so much about robotics. Even though I thought I know already many things, I was surprised how many companies are actually using robotics. And I was surprised how active your members are, which is really a big bravo. And I hope that next year we will have a similar show at Global Autonomy, thanks to Dan Zoldai. And we will also have some new companies from the big industry, not only from energy sector, construction sector, or medical or agriculture, but new sectors will implement robotics in their business to facilitate or accelerate. Maybe one sentence from each of you, how to scale. What do we need to scale this business? Is it possible to make it bigger right now, or do we need to be happy that we are doing something? It's still niche, but maybe in 5 or 10 years the market will be very large.
Us and our members, it's really relies back to the business case. Technology for technology's sake doesn't work, whatever form. Whatever type of aerial or ground or submersible robot. For us, it really relies back to what is the challenge, that potentially could be solved, or we would get additional benefits, and there's a business case to be made. And so for us, that's what it takes to scale. Because once the business case is proven, and then you can apply the technology to it, then you start to find that's where the funding is, because you've proven the ROI, and that will help you scale whatever that particular area of the business might be.
Alexander?
Yeah, so we are working towards more complete solutions. So I think the way towards wide adoption is to make it easier for people to use it for a wide variety of use cases. So that's what we are working on. So not only provide the hardware, but also software, a complete solution that makes it very easy for everyone to use. And then I think a lot of people will be very happy to use it.
Kimberly?
Yes, I would like to. I'm definitely also agreeing with John and Alexander as well. That's one. I think the application needs to be sent. Like the robotic solution should tailor a certain application, a certain need that the people want or the customer wants. So, and that is something these investors need to focus on as well. They don't only invest in the companies for like a very cool technology, very cool humanoid robot. But what is it actually going to be useful for? Focus on those companies that actually are trying to solve problems instead of just the coolness or the hypeness of it.
Okay, and the last sentence, please tell me and our audience how they can reach to you and learn more about your business and robotics, because we are ending soon.
So definitely, as you mentioned, Joanna, LinkedIn. You can find me, Sean Guerre, on LinkedIn, and love to connect with people there. As far as our group, we are edrcoalition.com. So that's a great way to get to our resources and news and all the information about what's happening with projects and use cases.
Definitely on LinkedIn, Kimberly Maguire on LinkedIn, and my website and blog as well, maguirerobotics.com. And that also kind of have links to all of like the channels that I'm currently active in.
Alexander?
Yeah, we just released our updated website, so maybe that's the best way. XelaRobotics.com, Xela robotics.com. Please go there.
So once again, I wanted to thank our sponsors, Teal, Carasoft, Ecodyne, also Alexander's company, and also my company. Thank you so much, guys, for talking with me, and thank you, Dan Zolday, for inviting me to moderate this discussion about robotics. We are out here.